Alright, hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you my process of making kombucha. I already have my tea brewed for this, to add to this scoby in a little bit here. It's just plain black tea with sugar in it. I usually do about 3 gallons of tea and about 3 cups of just granulated sugar. Nothing fancy. Granulated sugar works the best. I wouldn't suggest using any other kinds of sugar. And then black tea bags. And you can change up the strength depending on what you like. But I'll be showing you how to rinse your scoby and how I bottle up the kombucha and the flavorings that I use for it. This is a batch that I did before, and this is blueberry ginger, which I really like. So stay tuned. So the very first thing you want to do is wash your hands really, really well, because any bacteria or anything like that that you touch the scoby with, or mushrooms, or the bottle, or anything like that, will grow in your scoby. So you want to make sure to wash your hands super well, and all the equipment I use, make sure it's sterilized or washed really well as well. So, got that step done. And then keep in mind that using metal utensils for like touching the scoby and stuff is not the healthiest for your scoby. I tend to use like wooden spoons and glass bowls like for rinsing my scoby and stuff like that, so keep that in mind as well. So here I have my bowl, and I like to just stick my hand right into the scoby after you wash it, obviously, and take the scoby out gently, place it into the bowl. It's such a weird texture, so sorry if it grosses you out, but quite the large scoby. It's important to keep a healthy scobies, and I like to rinse them between every so often. Another step that you should do is taste your kombucha, your plain kombucha. Just make sure it has the right the right level of fermentation, and it's not too weak and not too strong. You don't want it to taste like vinegar, and you don't want it to taste like tea. So keep that in mind as well. So next thing I'm going to do is just rinse this in some lukewarm water. You don't want it cold, and you don't want it super hot, because that'll kill your mushroom. So I'm going to do that. Sometimes people peel off like an outer layer of the mushroom. I sometimes do that occasionally, but I typically just rinse it pretty well, because you don't want to be peeling it every single time. So that's what we do here. Be sure to take out some of your kombucha, just the plain kombucha. I'll just put some in a bowl usually. And you're going to add this back to the scoby and stuff. You'll see like little floating pieces from the scoby. That's not bad at all. It's completely normal. So yep, just take some off. You're going to add this back to the scoby and the tea. Okay, you're then going to want to stir your kombucha just so that anything on the bottom, it's just like evenly distributed. And yeah, just like that. It stirs up any of that yeast on the bottom too, which is nice to have done. Alright, the next thing I'm going to do is pour the tea into a pitcher, because it's a lot easier to manage, especially when it's in that huge jar. It's just like so hard to manage it. So I usually pour it into 1 or 2 pitchers depending on, and then I'll put the tea into with the scoby and put that back with the date that I did this, so I can remember. And then I keep the tea and the scoby in a dark area so it can do the first fermentation and become from tea to kombucha. So that is what we're going to do. Alright, some people prefer to strain their kombucha during this process, but I usually just either strain it when the kombucha is done with the second fermentation, or, okay, this is really pretty, all the bubbles, just like shows that it was really well fermented the first time. It's not overly fermented, it's not like fizzy, but it is good. This is what you want. But yeah, I usually strain it when I pour it into the bottles. Well, sometimes I do that. Otherwise, I just strain it when you're finished. So yeah. Gently place the scobies back into the jar. Spread them out. And then you can add that tea back onto them. The kombucha, I mean. You can see it's just like enough to cover the bottom. And then I'll add the tea after that. And then I like to make sure that the top of the lid is dry, because it just keeps my rubber band, and I just use a coffee filter on the top so that the mushroom can breathe, but it is covered from any dust or anything getting into it. So the rubber band over that, and good to go. I like to keep this in a dark spot where it can ferment for however long it needs to, usually like a week or two. This one, since it's such a large thing of tea, it takes a little longer. So it depends on your jar size. You kind of have to experiment with it. So the next process is going to be actually bottling them. I like to use these bottles because they have a really good seal, and it makes for better, like more fizziness and better fermentation. That's nice. So have your bottles all washed and ready to go. I like to keep a funnel on hand because that just makes it so much easier to pour the kombucha actually in. And then for flavorings, you can look up different recipes for simple syrups, but it's so easy to make syrups. I have pineapple, ginger, blueberry, strawberry, and to intertwine these is really fun. So you can like mix and match, do like strawberry, ginger, or any of those. Some people like to take off, like strain the simple syrups. I don't mind if there's a little bit. See, this is a bottle of it. There's a little bit of blueberries and stuff on the top, but I actually don't mind that. If you want to, you can just strain it. I usually just strain it when I put it in my cup. So that's what I do. But I like to add the kombucha and then the flavorings. But pretty much for the simple syrups, I heat up strawberries. So like for the strawberry one, I heat up my fruit with a little bit of water, and you can add sugar. I like to add a little bit of sugar because it helps with the fermentation. Heat it up on a little kettle over the stove, and then I blend it so it's just like a nice syrup. And then you can like dilute it a little more with water depending on how strong you want your flavors. So that's what I do for my flavoring. It's super easy. And then if there's extra, I always just keep them in the fridge, especially since my kombuchas are like different timings. Makes it easy. So that's what I like to do. Keep my bottles, and everything is ready to go. So some people also strain this. I think I mentioned this before. My might. I don't know. Sometimes I go back and forth. But yep, that's what we got. You want to fill it all the way because you want to leave some space for the fruit and also for breathing space. That's the kombucha float all over your face. So keep that in mind. Okay. And then you choose your flavor. So I'll do the strawberry ginger. It's like one of my favorites. Do a little bit of strawberry and a little bit of ginger. That strawberry ginger. Do blueberry ginger. Make sure to like mix your juice too, because then you get an evener flavor. Just like that. Pop the lid on. Where is everybody? Or you give it a mix. And then for the second fermentation, you only need to ferment it for around 2 or 3, 4 days, just until it gets the fizziness that you want. Make sure to write the date, the flavors on them. I just take a little piece of tape, write the date on it, the flavoring, and then stick it in a warm, dark area. Not super warm, just like, I like to put it down by our furnace in the basement, and that's just like a good place for it to ferment in peace. So that is the process of making kombucha. I hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely love kombucha, so hope you do too.